Here's something that will change how you think about every habit you've ever tried to build. The habit was never the real lever. Identity is. Most people trying to change their financial life ask the wrong question. They ask, what should I do? Save more. Spend less. Track every dollar. But the people who actually change permanently, not for 3 weeks in January, are answering a completely different question. Who am I becoming? That's not a motivational poster. It's a documented mechanism in behavioral psychology, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how it works and how to use it. Let's start with the pain point, because you've probably lived this. You decide to get serious about money. You download the app. You build the spreadsheet. Week 1. You're disciplined, you check every purchase. You feel the thrill of control. Week 2. Still going. Week 3. You miss a day of tracking. Week 4. The app notification gets swiped away without opening. By week 6, you're back to exactly where you started, except now there's a little voice telling you that you're just not a disciplined person. Here's the part almost nobody tells you, that collapse wasn't a willpower failure. It was a structural one. Most financial habits are built as outcome-based goals. I want to save $10,000. I want to pay off this card. Outcome goals are about a result you're chasing. The problem is that a result-focused goal only motivates you up until the moment the result feels far away, boring, or inconvenient, which, for money, is most days. There's no result to see on a random Tuesday when you're deciding whether to order takeout. So the behavior has nothing to stand on, and it erodes. What actually sustains behavior over months and years is something upstream of the goal entirely. What you believe you are. His is where identity-based behavior change comes in, and it's worth understanding the actual mechanism, not just the slogan. The foundational psychology here traces back to self-perception theory, developed by psychologist Daryl Bem in the late 1960s. Bem's core finding, replicated many times since, was counterintuitive. We don't just act according to our beliefs about ourselves, we form beliefs about ourselves by watching what we do. Every action is evidence. Every time you do something, some part of your brain is quietly updating a file that says, this is the kind of person I am. Do a thing once, and it's an event. Do it repeatedly, and it becomes data your self-concept uses to define you. This is the mechanism James Clear popularized in Atomic Habits, with the phrase identity-based habits, the idea that the most effective way to change behavior is to first decide the type of person you want to be, and then prove it to yourself with small wins. But the psychology behind it is older and more rigorous than the pop science packaging suggests. Researcher Daphna Oyserman, who has spent decades studying what she calls identity-based motivation, found something critical. People are far more likely to act in ways that are congruent with their self-concept than in ways that are merely instrumentally useful. In plain terms, you're not primarily motivated by what's good for you. You're motivated by what feels like you. If saving money feels like something responsible people do, and you don't see yourself as one of them, you'll sabotage the plan even when it's objectively in your interest. But once saving becomes part of who you believe you are, it stops requiring willpower. It just requires consistency with self-image, which the brain protects fiercely. That's called identity-consistent behavior, and it's one of the most robust findings in social psychology. We go to surprising lengths to act like the person we believe ourselves to be, because the alternative creates a specific, uncomfortable friction called cognitive dissonance, a term coined by Festinger, where the gap between belief and action becomes psychologically intolerable. Here's the mechanism laid out in sequence. You take a small action. That action gets logged as evidence about who you are. Your self-concept updates, even slightly. That updated self-concept makes the next similar action feel more natural, because now it's consistent with identity rather than effortful. Consistency compounds. because each repetition is reinforcing the identity, not just producing an outcome. Compare the two sentences, "I'm trying to save money," versus "I'm someone who saves money." The first is a project with an end date, something you're doing to yourself. The second is a fact about who you are, something you're expressing. Projects get abandoned. Facts get defended. There's one more piece worth naming: psychologist Hal Hershfield's research on what he calls future self continuity. Hershfield found that people who feel a strong psychological connection to their future self, who can vividly imagine that person as continuous with who they are now, not a stranger, save significantly more and make better long-term financial decisions. Identity isn't just about who you are today. It's about closing the gap between present you and future you, so that saving for that person feels less like sacrifice and more like taking care of someone you already know. Implications: so, what does this actually look like in a financial life? It means the small actions matter far more than their dollar value suggests. Rounding up a purchase and moving the change into savings isn't going to make you rich, but it's not really about the money. It's a vote for the identity of someone who saves. And every vote counts, because you're building a track record that your own brain uses as evidence. This is why automatic transfers work better than willpower-based saving. They generate repeated identity, confirming evidence, without requiring a fresh decision each time. This is why paying even $5 extra toward debt matters more than the math implies. You're not just reducing a balance. You're reinforcing I am someone who pays down what I owe, which makes the $50 extra payment next month feel expected rather than exceptional. Over time, these small actions compound in two parallel ways. There's the obvious one: compound interest, snowballing debt payoff, a savings balance that grows. But there's a second, quieter compounding happening in parallel. Your self-concept is compounding too. Each identity-consistent action makes the next one require less friction, which is the actual reason some people seem to manage money effortlessly. It's not that they have more discipline, it's that their financial behavior stopped requiring discipline once it became identity. So here's the one exercise, and I want you to actually do this, not just nod along. Take the financial goal you've been chasing and rewrite it as an identity statement. Not "I want to save $5,000, but I am a person who prioritizes their future." Not "I need to pay off this card, but I am someone who doesn't let debt run my decisions." Then, today, take one small action, even a trivial one that only a person with that identity would take. Move $20. Cancel one subscription you don't use. Check your balance without flinching. The size doesn't matter. What matters is that it's evidence, and your brain is always keeping score. If this reframed how you think about behavior change, subscribe next week. I'm breaking down the specific mechanics of habit stacking and why most people set financial goals in exactly the wrong order. And drop a comment with the identity statement you just wrote. I read every one.